So hey everybody, how we doing? Today's Monday, January 2nd. So in the last few days I've been getting tons and tons of messages. And one of the messages was super crystal clear that we are no longer spinning in the way of the web. We're no longer spinning in the way of the web was the message. So I was like, all right, well, do share more when you're ready. And so it all came flooding through this morning. And then I was called to get the whiteboard back out. Now, I've done videos in the past with the whiteboard. I work with clients sometimes in the whiteboard, but I haven't done a video in a while on a whiteboard because I really suck at drawing. So I'm going to do this the best that I can. So what we have in the way of the world, in the worlds that we've had, is we have X amount of millenniums of the dark and X amount of millenniums of the light. Okay, it all has to balance. And then what transpires in the light and in the dark. Okay, so I put in the beginning there was, and I just said God for a lack of better expression, prime source creator, creator being, divine of all. It depends on what you feel like calling it. It's up to you. So we had all that, the way of the light, okay? And for a long, long time, we've been in the way of the dark, okay? And so just to fast forward a little bit through the dark, we have basically, for a lack of better explanation, two teams. And I called them the alligators and the crocodiles. And each of them have a dinner plate. That includes their breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. We just said dinner because that's more of a feasting plate, right? So they have their dinner plates, okay? So now what we have, all these lines, they represent books of domination is what I was hearing. Books of domination. How to teach you not to understand that you're dominated because they're books of domination. So there's secrets in there. So all these squiggly lines, they represent import, export, religion, media, banking, politics, food, drugs, space and earth, education, etc. So on the front of the squigglies is what we usually will see. And on the back side is what these dinner plates get filled with. So the front plates of these squiggly lines that represent all of these things I just mentioned, food, drug, religion, media, politics, education, etc. There's always puppet faces. Faces of puppets that let you know that this is an okay program, right? All these X's represent the general public, okay? And then through these millenniums of the darkness, we've always been in the croc and gator bowl, okay? Because they've always battled to be dominating, one of them to be more dominating than the other, okay? It's like back in the old historical things, one person wasn't okay with just being a king of their kingdom. They needed to go knock the king off of another country or a neighboring village. And the more they had and killed off, the more they had control, right? And it just, we look at it now as it's just history when it was really freaking barbaric expansion of civilizations through what I would call ungodly means by taking life over it. So in this dark millenniums that we've been living in, right? These are all programs, and this would be our human, which would represent these X's. So our human now has all these implants all over it and waves of energy coming to it that are attached to all these programs is the only thing that it knows. So it jumps and performs as a human puppet, because it's only read the front part of the books of domination, which looks like the books of education, how to excel in this lifetime. All right. So one of these groups over here wants to buy this group over here, one of their lines, and that's what's been happening. So now they're all completely jumbled. But everybody still has their own religion, their own education, their own politics, their own banking systems, their own import export, and that import export is food, people, blood, DNA, the whole freaking shebang that you're not aware of because it's done on the backside, the hidden side. And you think you're just importing, exporting survival things or luxury things or things that are of necessity, which are it's false propaganda because, again, all these lines represent what they've programmed them to be for the human general public to accept. And then all these cords of energetics are implanted and imprinted in your DNA as normal. And so there's been tons of croc and gator bowls. So really what we've come now to in the last whatever is we're coming towards the end of the dark and into the millenniums now of light. Okay, you could call that closer to the God source creator, right? And so here comes the light here, and it's been trickling out of its rays, which has been stirring up all of this, stirring up all of that, and creating these guys to come on even harder to dominate, while this side is awakening people to the fact that there has been world domination, okay, at the cost of lives on every level, and enslavement and in programming of that enslavement. So you're trapped in those ways, right? So now we're in this natural progression that now this godly light, so we want to put the godly light is now our next phase of the planets. It's the next phase of our planetary alignments, so to speak. Now I'm doing this off of memory of what they were telling me. My guide team was telling me, and they were like working with this analogy. So this analogy may work great for some of you, and it may be some of you, but they were sharing with me all of these implants, etherically, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all these implants that are here placed in the human body and around the human body by all of this in the era of the dark, right? Prevents a lot of people from waking up to the God source, the godly light that's coming in. So some people woke up quicker and some people are taking a little bit longer, depending on how your DNA was when you came in incarnated into this body and what your paths and missions were. So some came in already higher in the lighter vibration. So all of this freaking made sense a long time ago. And we didn't want to be in the herd mentality, right? We saw the herding. So there's been a lot of people opening up to, hey, this is happening, that's happening. Wake up, everybody, get out of your trance. We're coming into the light ages and we can't bring any of this with us. We have to come back to a place of neutral, where all this programming is cancel, alt, deleted, stop, drop, sit, connect with your breath. You know how I say that all the time. Release all of these programs that don't serve anymore because they won't serve in this new alignment of the godly light, the source light. It will not survive here. And anyone who decides to continue and not unlock their implants will stay in this programming longer than necessary and may have to leave the planet because you refuse to to pivot a little bit. You refuse to be adaptable, and you won't let go of these programs. It's hardcore wired into you. So please, people who are realizing the godly light is here and that we're in this transitional period of going into the ages of the light, don't beat everybody up who's not getting it, and don't look at yourself as Paul Revere and you got to ride your horse around and hit everyone over the head. And I call that solicitation, and I call that preaching, and I call that I can't even remember right now. But we didn't come in to be converters. That's what it was. We're not here to convert others. We're actually here to work on our source light as an individual and to really anchor that into Mother Earth. And that in and of itself has a whole lot of power. And so as you increase your beacon of light, matching with the light that's here again, okay, that was here a long, long time ago. We've been living in the dark programs. Now we're moving into the light, right? So all this doesn't serve. So we got to recreate with the educational levels of experiences our spirit has had through all these lifetimes of the dark. And is to go back and to remember the original, can't see where my hand is, the original source of who we are, okay? And be able to get this to erase and come into this. So in order to create more division for these two to fight for their domination and their power, they've created all these theories and supported these theories. And one of the theories I've always said was the Trumpster steam. Okay, he was painted as, I'm going to expose you. But really, he was just a front puppet for the same team that was doing the exact same stuff. He's like, I'm going to throw you guys under the bus with some of the shit you've been doing, because I'm going to look like a savior and a crusader for getting rid of the dark, because no one really saw all the dark puppeteering that I've done on many lifetimes behind me and all of the team that has supported that. So there's a reason why people aren't coming out to defend that. Because if they defend that, then they're opening up a whole can of worms. So I was asking Spirit this morning, I was like, well, okay, so like what analogy could I give with that? And they were like, well, there's two gangsters. And there's like two mafia gangsters. And they're just medieval bloody killers and have no regard for life whatsoever. But one whistle blows on the other in order to get the general public to see what the other team is doing that they were involved with. And they're now good because they're telling on them, tattletaling on them. But nobody really dives into the whistleblower gangster and what his whole mafia mob has been doing all of this time. So no one can defend each other or defend what they're being accused of, because it'll open a whole can of worms. That's what's happening in Holly Bollywood and all these other places. All these alligator crockies can't start speaking up about these theories, because then it's going to wake up the ones who didn't know anything about it. And now they're going to have more of the general public awakened to this source light. And so they keep wanting to throw clouds and shades in front of this awakening process, dimming your light as long as they can, so they can keep feeding off of the herds on so many levels besides the Earth's surface. Okay? Because remember, nobody wants to swim with a croc or an alligator. But the interesting thing is they were showing me that when you look at a croc and an alligator, you look at their face. And you look at, oh man, I got to swim away from that. That's going to get me, right? But nobody's looking at the tail. The tail is what's maneuvering it. The tail is what's locking everything down, and they can spiral you down and take you out. Both of them have that. Both of them have that. So we're in this natural progression where we're coming out of the dark into a new era of light with all the spiritual experiences we've had, thousands and thousands of years in the dark. Okay? So instead of looking back at, oh shit, F this, blah, 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 dark secrets, I've been taken, against my will and enslaved. Yes and no, because you were part of the other side at one point, which is why you have compassion and empathy as this human now, because the spirit has come in with all these experiences, and it's choosing the spiritual loving self, not wanting to throw shade on that, because there's other higher levels of beings behind these guys and also behind these guys that are doing work that this physical army here is unable to do. We're just able to anchor the energy here so that our higher self teams can do the work through our physical conduits. And I'm being told to go ahead and close this up now, and perhaps there will be a part 2. So all of this was experiences. All of this before this was experiences. Now we're moving into new experience territory again with our original source light to build upon newness here, but we're not sure what that looks like yet, because we all need to majority of us need to come into this space and begin to create from here, releasing all of this programming, all of it. Cancel, alt, delete, cancel, alt, delete, which is why in 2017, driving somewhere when I was repeating some sessions for healing work for certification, I got that message. Cancel, alt, delete every single thing that you have ever learned and been taught. And if it comes back to you again, look at it from a different feeling, a different point of view, and then decide if you even want that to take up any space. 9 times out of 10, it's not able to take up any more space, which has created a new human within me, because I'm now working from my spiritual beingness, and my physical avatar is along for the ride, because it has to house the spirit. It's like the car doesn't drive itself. You need to have the driver of the car, a real driver of the car, and be a commander of all your points of destination, not destiny, excuse me, your points of destination. So this is faded away, folks. You don't need to hang on to it with all these imprints. You can command those to be gone. Because again, the higher teams here have been doing this work with you and for you. So these implants are dissipating, and you will no longer be connected to this unless you choose to, because you're afraid of the unknown of going into here. And that's where you will have spiritual teachers like me and instructors who live it and breathe it to help you get over there, so you can make a decision. Does this feel better, or did this feel better? And then the choice is yours. All right? So please like, subscribe, and share. So much love. You're walking, living, loving columns of light. Own that. Own that. Set your dial. Expand yourself. Be in it. Okay? No more gator, alligator, croc bowls. All right? Bye.